What is up, Iwu crew? Today, we examine the mysterious circumstances surrounding the 12-day odyssey of hiker Holly Courtier. This story of the missing hiker has taken several turns. What started as concern and support has fishtailed into controversy, internet speculation, and the kind of drama you'd expect from a public feeling duped and demanding answers. This one is insane, so buckle up. If you like true crime, true stories, and mysteries, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. It started innocently enough as a spiritual journey within Utah's Zion National Park for 38-year-old California mother, Holly Courtier. On October 6, 2020, Courtier went in search of tranquility during a tumultuous time in her life. Telling no one of her plans to disconnect from a world fraught with uncertainty, Holly vanished under the cover of darkness. When she failed to return, her disappearance resulted in a desperate search effort and a race against the clock to find her alive. As panicked family members and rescuers searched desperately to find her, the nation rallied around them, sending up collective good wishes and hope for her safe return. After spending nearly 2 weeks lost within the vast park, Holly was thankfully found alive on Sunday, October 18, 2020. When she was thankfully found safe, the nation rejoiced with them in the beginning. However, despite the seemingly happy ending, the story doesn't end there. While searchers and officials, and definitely her family, are grateful she was found alive and safe, several inconsistencies between her story and details from park officials have given rise to questions and doubts. Soon, questions surfaced, and what started as a frantic search with the nation's support for a safe return quickly took a different turn. As more details unraveled, the groundswell of support turned to confusion, followed by questions, and then outright hostility. Authorities have launched an official investigation into the case. Rescue officials have voiced concern over discrepancies, and that combined with a GoFundMe account worth thousands have fueled suspicion behind Courtier's motivations. A frenzy of social media speculation and, in many cases, extreme vitriol has followed, causing Courtier's family to go on the defensive. After examining and debating the different details and opinions, many people have been left wondering, was Holly ever really missing? Not much is known about Holly Courtier, but there is some information available. Holly Courtier is a 38-year-old mother from Woodland Hills, California. Described as spontaneous and a free spirit by her family, she was previously employed as a nanny. Unfortunately, that job came to an end due to the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. Although surely an upsetting event, Courtier was not one to let circumstances get her down, and she decided to make the best of her situation. During the pandemic, she made use of her free time to convert a van and began traveling around the country, visiting national parks and indulging her love of nature. She has at least one child, a 19-year-old daughter named Kaylee Chambers, who describes her mother as a spiritual person, an experienced hiker, and a fighter. A month prior to this incident, in September 2020, Holly and Kaylee hiked to Zion together in honor of Kaylee's 19th birthday. Holly had apparently decided to revisit that place of happy memories in the middle of October 2020, but chose not to share that information with friends and family. She had previously told them her whereabouts, so why the change? The saga began a few days prior to Holly leaving for her hike when she met up with one of her sisters, Jillian Oliver, for dinner. Despite getting together for a meal, Holly didn't eat, explaining to her sister that she was on a fast. Holly fasted somewhat regularly, so this was not unusual behavior. According to Oliver, Holly was in a good mood, even though she failed to mention going on the trip. "She gave me a big hug and said, 'I love you so much,'" Oliver said. "She seemed a little choked up, like she wasn't going to see us for maybe a few weeks or something. These words seemed to be prophetic looking back, as Courtier disappeared mere days later, leaving her home late at night to travel to Utah's Zion State Park. While deciding to take a trip isn't weird by itself, and not out of her character, the circumstances surrounding Holly's departure certainly are. She allegedly left her home in the middle of the night, which is an odd time for travel. Even more bizarre, Holly left her phone behind in California when she left. She also told no one about her plans. Courtier was regularly described as spontaneous and free-spirited. So was this impromptu trip something she decided on a whim? So much of a whim that she didn't bring her phone. Another odd factor was that she began fasting prior to this trip. Traveling in the best of circumstances while fasting is challenging, as it can leave a person feeling sluggish and tired. But visiting a state park where physical exertion is standard would make it even more taxing. This adds another layer to the strangeness surrounding this story. Were these the actions of a woman who didn't want to be found, or just wanted time alone? What we know next in the timeline occurred on October 6th, when a private shuttle dropped Holly off in the Grotto parking area around 1:30 p.m. This parking area led to several hiking trails and gave Courtier several options to start her adventure. Carrying only minimal gear, Holly set off, with a planned pickup arranged at 4:40 p.m. later the same day. Courtier would miss that pickup. The drop-off was the last time she was seen before vanishing. She was reported missing on October 8th by her roommate, and authorities began to investigate. They only knew that she had gone to Utah's Zion National Park when they discovered that she used her credit card to pay the entry fee into the park. Given the vast area of the park and the light gear and clothing believed to be in Courtier's possession, family and officials were immediately concerned, and a search was quickly launched. The searchers had quite a task in front of them. The Zion National Park boasts a diverse array of habitats and terrain. The park is 232 square miles in size and features plateaus, sandstone canyons, Navajo sandstone cliffs, and hanging gardens. Several water sources are also found, such as springs, waterfalls, and the Virgin River with its tributaries. Elevation reaches a full 5,000 feet. With the enormous ground necessary to cover, park officials requested the services of the Washington County Search and Rescue Team. This team was not directly involved in the physical search, but assisted by reviewing the search plans and made recommendations where needed. One particular representative of this team later becomes very important to uncovering the mystery of this case. As the search progressed, a website called www.helpfindholly.com was launched. Courtier's daughter Kaylee made at least 2 television appearances, one on CBS in Los Angeles to give details of the disappearance and search, and also on Inside Edition 6 days after her mother had disappeared, tearfully vowing that she would not give up until her mother was found. She says,
"I just want to bring her home because I feel that she is hurt and can't get the help that she needs."
On October 15th, another of Holly's sisters, Jamie Strong, organized a GoFundMe page to help with expenses associated with the search. The big break came on the 12th day of the search, namely October the 18th, when a woman who was hiking with her son spotted Courtier's hammock hanging in a tree and called in a tip. Courtier was located after that, reportedly dehydrated, malnourished, and weighing about 15 pounds less than when she started. She was also described as having bruises covering her body and a large lump on the back of her head. According to the NPS.gov website, Courtier was reunited with her family and left the park with them. Not long after, a harrowing story emerged that detailed Courtier's time in Zion, shared with the concerned world by her sister. It wouldn't be long before the outpouring of concern and sympathy turned to disbelief and suspicion over the hiker's story. In an interview, Sister Jamie Strong revealed that Courtier went on a hike not long after arriving and became extremely weak very early on the first day or two because she wasn't eating or drinking. It is important to remember that Courtier had allegedly started fasting a few days before leaving for the park. The fast and physical exertion quickly led to disorientation, and an injury soon followed. After setting up her hammock, Courtier allegedly sat in it and swung back, striking her head against a tree. This supposedly gave her a concussion, and as a result of the head injury, Courtier became even more disoriented. Somehow, she ended up near the Virgin River and stayed there, thinking it best to stay near a water source. The disorientation from the head injury, combined with her fast and lack of water, allegedly culminated in an agonizing 12-day fight for survival. Courtier managed to keep track of time by marking the days she was missing with a Sharpie on a nearby tree. Unable to walk for more than a couple of steps, she wasn't able to seek help. At one point, Courtier reportedly said she spotted another person, but was so dehydrated that she was unable to even open her mouth to call out for help. At first glance, the entire harrowing incident seems pretty straightforward. A relieved hiker, a grateful family, and a successful search and rescue in the books. However, after the reunion, as more details started to emerge about Holly's time in the park, confused questions began to materialize as well. It wasn't long after that accusations also followed. Perhaps the most critical of Courtier's account is Sergeant Darrell Cashin, liaison of the Washington County Sheriff's Search and Rescue. A member of the aforementioned team that consulted on the search, he spoke out as reported in an article published on October 20th. Cashin praised the rescue effort. He was not, however, quite so complimentary when he spoke of Holly Courtier's alleged experience. Cashin discussed what he saw as quite a few discrepancies in her account.
There's just a lot of question with that, and I think the place where that question can be answered is probably with her.
Cashin's words would be a turning point of sorts in this chain of events, as he highlighted some of the odd discrepancies in Courtier's story versus what the Zion officials had related. The online response quickly caught fire and took on a life of its own. Discrepancy 1, where Courtier was found. Holly was found in an area that was thick with vegetation, near the park's Virgin River. While the type of area she was found in was not suspicious, its proximity was. This area's location was a mere half-mile from the trails and would have been well traveled by rescuers and other hikers. Sergeant Cashin was quoted as saying, "If she's by the Virgin River, she's down in the valley, not in the backcountry up in the plateaus and the peaks. She's in that main part of the canyon, which always has thousands of people walking up and down those trails. I'm sure people walk by yelling for her." While not saying it outright, he does imply that it is odd that she was so close the entire time, in a well-traversed area, and not found sooner. How could no one have seen Holly for the entire time she was missing when she was so close to well-traveled trails where searchers would be looking for her? Even in thick vegetation, would she have not heard searchers calling out for her? And was her physical condition so poor that she would be unable to travel the short distance to get help? She had apparently previously moved from her campsite and hammock to near the Virgin Peace River directly after the injury allegedly occurred. Discrepancy 2, her alleged physical condition. Combined with dehydration, Courtier also supposedly experienced a severe head injury early on in the trip. According to daughter Kaylee Chambers, after hitting her head on a tree, Courtier experienced disorientation. Another account by her sister clarifies that after setting up her hammock, Courtier leaned back to sit and fell backward, where her head collided with one of the trees. She was too weak and disoriented to find help, Chambers reported. She was unable to take more than a step or two without collapsing. This prevented her from being able to seek out help. She told me she was so dehydrated she couldn't open her mouth. Her family also related that she had a concussion, foot injuries due to cold, and even kidney failure. While all of this certainly makes it seem as though Courtier was in dire physical straits, it clashes with the fact that she was instantly released to her family instead of taken directly for medical attention after being found. In a statement from Zion National Park, they explained that she was able to leave the park on her own and needed little assistance. Clearly, there is a disconnect here. These two accounts of the incident contrast each other significantly. Suppose she was so dehydrated that she couldn't open her mouth to call for help when she saw someone near and disoriented from a concussion, all while suffering from kidney failure. Why would she have been released to her family instead of having an ambulance called? Cashin points out that if she were that seriously ill, the rescuers surely would have called for an ambulance, and she would have been taken immediately for treatment. The words of Cashin sum this up perfectly. Was she that bad, or was she not? Quite possibly, the most damning discrepancy lies in Discrepancy 3, the water source. Courtier allegedly spent most of her time in the park near the Virgin River, hoping the proximity to a water source would help her chances of survival. Cashin pointed out that the Virgin River's water was highly unsafe to drink and would have made anyone drinking it very ill, and said it was a high possibility that she would have died if she drank from the Virgin River for 12 days. According to NPS.gov, cyanobacteria have been found in parts of the Virgin River. This type of bacteria produces a toxin that can impact the nervous system. Due to the levels detected, the NPS recommends avoiding contact with North Fork of the Virgin River until further notice. If she had been drinking that water, unless she had some really high immune system, she would have been very, very ill and probably unable to come out on her own. She either took a lot of water with her or had another clean water source that was near here, but the Virgin River is not that source. Cashin also stated that without any water, she would have died within 2 to 3 days. Cashin knows this subject well. He has participated in search and rescue since 1995 and has dealt with several dehydrated people during his rescues. He also explained that if she had been so dehydrated that she could not open her mouth, as previously related by Courtier's family, she might not have survived. This begs the questions: did Holly drink any of the water? If so, how was she not much sicker than she was when she was found? And if she didn't drink the water, did she have another water source? And if not, how could she have possibly survived for 12 days without water? It's important to note that the Washington County Sheriff's Office reiterated in a press release that their role was merely to consult. However, they stand by Cashin's statements. Discrepancy 4. This one is minor and not necessarily pointed out in the accounts of the event, but it is noted that Holly was dropped off around 1:30 p.m. the day she disappeared and was scheduled to be picked up at 4:40 p.m. that same day. In her interview with Today, Strong indicated that Courtier had planned to be in Zion Park for 1 to 2 days to fast, read her Bible, and disconnect from technology. Why would a pickup be scheduled about 3 hours later for Courtier if she had planned to spend at least a day in the park? Though a small discrepancy, it still leads to the question, what is the truth? If the observations from Cashin didn't ignite the controversy with this story, they certainly exacerbated it. What has followed in the aftermath of this case is a very loud and insistent outcry from the once supportive and distraught public, demanding answers and denouncing the family's inconsistent story. There are accusations of a scam against Courtier and her family for creating the GoFundMe account, calls for repayment of resources many have believed were squandered in the search, and criticism over social media. A Facebook group is formed where people discuss the case, post articles around what occurred, debate Courtier's and her family's motivations, and call for justice. A look at the comments on Courtier's personal Facebook page, various articles and videos, and especially the Facebook page dedicated to speculating on the case, shows an angry public demanding answers. A review of the recent comments on an old post of Courtier's Facebook page reveals questions, anger, and skepticism. While some people also express belief in Courtier's story and concern for her well-being, the vast majority are accusing her of being a liar, having mental issues, and falsely using resources for an unnecessary rescue. The GoFundMe account was a specific point of contention, the main opinion being that this was all an elaborate attempt at financial gain. After Courtier's recovery, county authorities have stated that they have gotten many tips that Courtier planned her disappearance to profit through the GoFundMe account. Authorities are now probing into Courtier's disappearance as possibly staged in a GoFundMe scheme, and a criminal investigation has been opened by the Washington County's Sheriff's Office in response. A Facebook group called Holly Courtier, What Actually Happened, was launched on October 22nd, and as of this writing, it has 1,100 members. The majority of posts link articles and share pictures, while speculation runs rampant. Doubts about the severity of her injuries, comments accusing the family of making up lies, speculation that she left the park during the time she was reportedly missing, before returning to be found, and attacking the family. There are also comments from people who claim to have spent time hiking in Zion, sharing their stories and suspicions. There are also a handful of remarks from people who were allegedly part of the search efforts, also expressing doubts about her story. Commenters on a few subreddits, such as R Utah and R Missing Persons, have echoed similar sentiments. Strong, Courtier's sister, spoke to the Today Show after Courtier's rescue in an attempt to explain some of the discrepancies and answer the many questions circling the case. Her support, like the rest of the families, remains firmly with Courtier, and she dismisses the concerns as being twisted and blown out of proportion. Strong believes that God saw her sister through her journey, saying, "I think it's a miracle. I truly believe there is no reason she should be alive. It doesn't make sense. She didn't have the proper gear and she didn't have food or water." Regarding the water source, Strong clarified that while her sister kept close to the riverbed, she never drank any of the water, being very well aware of the toxins. She allegedly merely wet her lips and spat the river water out. "We were never implying that she drank the water," Strong said. However, it's still unclear if Courtier had access to other sources of water and how she would have survived if not. Strong also discussed the questions around Courtier's physical condition upon being found. She was horrified by how emaciated Courtier was, saying it looked like she had aged 30 years, but was, of course, overjoyed to see her. There has been a lot of speculation about the fact that Courtier was released to her family, instead of being taken immediately for treatment for her alleged injuries by emergency services. Still, Strong dismissed the doubts by saying that her condition was amplified by the adrenaline from being rescued, saying, "When you think you're going to die and you see a ranger," she said she literally got like giddy inside because she knew she was going to see her daughter and her family, so you definitely have some adrenaline working for you at that point. She explained that Courtier did need to rest every 5 feet as she left the park and had a ranger behind her should she fall. She also said that her family drove her immediately to the emergency room. "She was very scared and traumatized, and she wanted to leave the park in my car with me and my husband and her daughter, and we drove her straight to the emergency room, so things have just been twisted." In a separate interview with CNN, Strong explains that the doctor was shocked at how dehydrated she was, adding, "Her levels of her kidney function were very bad. She was starting to show signs of her kidney shutting down." As for the statements made by Daryl Cashin, Strong said in another interview with The Spectrum, "The sheriff's sergeant has made it 10 times worse for Kaylee. I've never even seen him or met him. This is someone who looked at some paperwork and looked at things on paper. He wasn't there. I think it might be easy to look at a few things on paper and make conclusions. He's taken something and blown it out of proportion, and the attention has gone to him. The focus should actually be on the Rangers and search and rescue team. There have been discussions around another theory involving Courtier's mental health that was alluded to by her family. In the same interview with Today, Strong said that Courtier has checked herself into a mental wellness center. Strong said, "I don't think that her mental state was good when she went into the park. I really think she had a mental breakdown and was not in the right state of mind when she decided to take this journey and not tell people where she was going." On the GoFundMe page set up for Courtier's search, Strong, who organized the page, said Courtier has struggled with her mental health in the past and was not in the best frame of mind when she set out on her hike. The controversial GoFundMe page has been disabled and had raised $11,860 before deactivation. In various updates, Strong explains that the fund was legitimate and had been set up to reimburse friends and family for the cost of the search and for any aftercare Courtier would need. She also stated, "We acknowledge and respect people's concerns over the many inaccuracies portrayed by the press and social media regarding Holly's ordeal. Whoever has concerns about our use of their donation is welcome to request a refund without any objection from the family." Strong also said the family has had to deactivate or restrict all of their social media, acquire new phone numbers, and take other privacy precautions because of the backlash they are receiving in connection with Courtier's disappearance. So, there you have it, crew. This is quite a strange case. While we're glad that everyone is safe and sound in the end, some glaring discrepancies keep us from closing the books on this one.